It was July 13th, 1977. New York was at the beginning of what would become a brutal 10-day heat wave where temperatures were daily over 100.
Con Ed says the blackout was triggered when severe lightning knocked out transmission lines that connected Indian Point, the state's main power grid, to the city. With those lines down and with demand for power unusually high because of a heat wave, other generating plants, unable to handle the load, began cutting themselves off. It took only minutes before it was all over. New York had been disconnected from the nation's electric system.
The first reality check was a bodega right across the street from where we were playing. The gate went down. Shoo! 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 All pandemonium broke, and people just started screaming blackout, and then you heard like bottles breaking and people just running, and we were like stuck out there with all this equipment. And to be out there in the blackout, you were prime, you know what I mean? You were prime for the picking.
Everybody was like, hit the stores. It was like, hit the stores! And everybody just started running all at once. Some started running towards us. Me and Wiz, we had other ideas, okay? We pull out the guns, we like, no, run that way, okay? Don't run this way, run that way. Wiz stayed with the equipment, and I proceeded around the corner because there was an electronics store, the sound room, and they had DJ equipment in there. And this is my first time admitting this, telling this story, but yes, I did sneak in there, help crash the gate down, and crawl in and pull out a Clubman 2 mixer. But like I said, couldn't just say I'm gonna be a DJ. You needed equipment. And that's all I really, wanted. I wasn't trying to loot, everything I could find.
Before that blackout, we had literally just maybe 4 or 5 legitimate DJ crews. The next day, the very next day, it sprung this whole revolution of DJs. That was a huge spark and a huge contribution to the hip-hop culture.
The rest of the city had other things on their mind. Supermarkets, department stores, banks, check cashing places, jewelry stores, everything.
In 1977, you had maybe 10 to 15,000 riders just blasting all over the city. You had every train covered with the most beautiful murals.
Should be cleaned, and the ones that are caught should be cleaned. They should clean it, the ones that they catch on doing that.
What's the sense of paying 75 cents when you have to ride graffiti trains,
It's a violation of public property.
I think it's disgusting.
We should at least get somebody to clean up the damn place.
We move 3.5 million people a day. They have rights too.
I think a lot of the artistic expression became ultimately destructive, and I think graffiti is a good example of that. People would not go in subway cars that were marked up because there was a fear of lawlessness, and I think it added to the paranoia.
In 1977, I was 20 years old, and I became king of the subways because I actually did more trains than anyone else. Anytime a train would go by, at least twice on a 10-car train, my name would be on it, both sides.
The basic graffiti message is, look at me, I'm famous. And this game is carried on first and foremost amongst your peers.
You sign your name and you underline it. That underlining is your statement of, I was here.
Writing was getting up. Getting up meant your mural traveled the city. So that's getting up. Just like hip-hop, man.
Did people know that they made elaborate sketches before going out to do it? And that they you know, blew these things up, projected them onto the trains in their minds, and did them on the trains in the dark with the proportions all correct on this huge canvas.
You wake up, you know, the parents are asleep. 2 in the morning, you actually slip out of the house, go out, and you would go inside the tunnel. Everything is pitch dark, and you can see what you're doing, but it's very dim. You actually get a feel for being in that environment, and you can't see anything, but you can still create something like this that's like flawless in the dark. Even though at any moment you can get pinched by the cops coming from any direction, so you have to be alert all the time.
What they learned was how exciting it was to get your piece up and to see it ride. But then they learned that if they didn't do it over and over again, they'd just disappear. So you had to be dedicated.
I knew that I wanted to create, and I needed to have the tools to do that. And I guess more frightening to me was actually getting paint. And at that time, we were all advanced as kids. We were advanced in the guerrilla warfare tactics.
And you would steal spray paint. You flip your Lee or your Wrangler jacket over your shoulder. At the time, the baby diapers had the big safety pins. There was none of that Pampers stuff. You put the safety pin in the center of the sleeve, and then you would fill the sleeves up with spray cans, and it just looks like you're just carrying your jacket over your arm. So, of course, you would get 6 cans of paint, 3 in each sleeve, and you would do that. At the end of the day, you still had 20 or 30 cans of paint, and you could go nuts all summer.
They're saying that the kids run the subways, that the system is out of control, and that graffiti is a symbol of that.
Nah, I ain't running the system.
Hell yeah.
I'm bombing the system.
Wow, you know, how is this all coming out in a city that's so corrupt and broke, and there's this beautiful thing coming out? So I was fascinated by that, and that's why I rode my cars, to watch people walking into the cars or people walking out, you know, or maybe from the corner of their eyes, like looking over and peeking from the wall, you know, from their journal or the Times, and just like, oh, you know, they were like in this secretive festivity, you know, like watching this stuff and being part of a celebration. My cars, I call them celebrations.
Even though we had the city father struggling against it, trains would pull into the station and people would applaud. You know, it was just there would be some really great pieces, but there's always a big, you know, debate on what's art and what should be where.
Well, I love Warhol's phrase, art is anything you can get away with. I love that.
My first exposure to hip-hop was Defiance, and I attribute that to the graffiti artists. The writers were here way before us, and just the whole mindset that the writers have, there's just that whole obscure, underground, against the grain attitude. It definitely appealed to me.
It's 1 for the blaze, 2 for the trouble, Grandmaster Cash, show 'em that you're on the level. Somebody say ho!
My recollection of hip-hop was coming from the parties they used to throw in the parks. Those parties were good for the time that they were there, but then the problem happened. You got the little stick-up kids started running around at that time. Gangs and gunshots, and people didn't want to party in the parks no more because somebody was always wind up getting hurt.
To bring the whole sound system out to the street, you had to have a lot of moxie and a lot of balls, you know what I'm saying, and a lot of backup, because you can get your stuff taken completely at any time, and a lot of people did get their stuff taken. A lot of people got their parties shot up, you know what I mean?
When the fever came about, and we decided, well, let's take hip-hop from the streets, bring it indoors, provide security, provide a controlled environment, and see where it goes from there. God knows, we never thought it would blow up like it did.
The Fever is the last untold story of hip-hop. All the rappers have a story in the Fever. Russell Simmons' story, Curtis Blow's, Mr. Magic, Grandmaster Flash, Heavy D did his first show there, Run DMC did their first show there, Beastie Boys all got their first break at the Fever.
Love Bug Star Ski at the Disco Fever every Monday night. Check them out. Right about now, Notorious too. Like this.
My father went and opened up a club for me in '76. The grand opening was Disco Fever, and my father wound up putting a white DJ in the club. And he wasn't working out. But I noticed every time this other DJ leaves and G gets on, the crowd is just picking up. Now, the night's supposed to be ending, but the energy level of the crowd is picking up. And he's rhyming over the records. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
when Sal was there and he heard that, he looked up again and was like, what the heck was that? And then he saw the reaction from the crowd, like everybody, ho, ho. You know, they started jumping and everything. He was like, what's going on here?
I had my dentist coming there. He's a white guy. And then I had a lawyer. And then I had a pimp. And then I had a hooker. And then I had a drug dealer. And then I had a bank robber. But at that point, they were all as one. Nobody was thinking about nobody as anything different. Who had more money, less money? Who was more dangerous? Who wasn't? Who was afraid? Who wasn't afraid? At that point, everybody was just having a good time because of this rhyming over the music. I said, G, who's the biggest DJs around? G told me the Grandmaster Flash. He's playing in the park. And Flash is scratching, and he's turning around with his elbows, and he gets up with his feet, and he's scratching with his feet, and he blindfolds himself, and he was just unbelievable. So I said, this guy's like a show within himself. And I approached Flash about playing in the club. And I said, look, you come here, I'm going to guarantee you become a star because you're going to have a place where people can come see you every week on a weekly basis. So here it is. It's going to be the first hip-hop night. Grandmaster Flash at the Fever on a Tuesday. I only had 5 days advertising, made little bullshit paper flyers. And this guy, 600 people show up. And the gimmick was $1 to get in, $1 a drink.
And we ran that night, I mean, we ran around like chickens without a head, but it was such a big thing. And the kids got the word out, and it just blossomed from there.
Now everybody's talking about it. Holy shit, the Fever's packed, there's 1 million people over there. But it was teenagers, you know?
And we knew we could pack the kids in. And when we started allowing them to come in with sneakers, that was it.
600 people again the next week. And then it was just every week. And then I had to make more revenue because we needed bounces because it was getting wild and it was too many people. So what I came up, I was the first one to do $1 to get in because I didn't want to change the dollar, but $5 with sneakers. But everybody wore sneakers. But if you wore shoes, you got it for $1.
And back in that time, drugs was hot. Cocaine, dust, angel dust was real prevalent. We knew people were going to do it, but we provided a safety system for the people that came up there. We had a little red light buzzer system that set up in the cashier booth downstairs, which flashed in the DJ booth, which the DJ, when he saw that, he knew to say code blue. And everybody had gotten accustomed when code blue was said, that means the police are coming upstairs. It was just like a speakeasy, the old speakeasies back in the 20s. So when that light went off, the DJ, no matter what he was doing, he could be in the middle of a rap or rhyme or whatever. He knew that light go off, code blue, code blue. Everything would disappear. If it was on the tables or whatever, somebody was doing it in the corner, it was gone. Not only that, the police department loved us too. Because we took 500-600 kids off the streets, put them inside of a building in a controlled environment. So if they were looking for somebody to stuck somebody up, what would they do? They come up to the club and look around to see if they could find them.
Grandmaster Flash, who got discovered at the Fever, just got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And you know what? That says it all.
1977 was a very, very pivotal year. A lot of what we see in music and popular culture now, the seeds were sown back in that period.
There's something about these moments where everything seems so dark and everything seems to be decaying, that's often when kind of great art is born.
Well, basically, they didn't think hip-hop was going to last. It's what, 2007 now, and it's still here and growing stronger?
Hip-hop has done a lot for our people. And when I mean our people, I mean, you know, minorities in general. Imagine a world without hip-hop right now. You know, imagine if this would never occurred. I mean, we'd all be breakdancing to bluegrass music. I mean, who knows? I mean, right? It's something that just the constellations were aligned the right way.